Okay. The topic of today's discussion is systemic pathology. A part of systemic pathology where we will discuss affections of eye and ear. So, you know that in human medicine particularly, there is a separate branch and a specialization for ophthalmology and otology. Okay, and they have also made a lot of advancement in human medicine. Accordingly, in veterinary science, many of the institutes are trying to initiate these special certification courses on ophthalmology and otology, particularly the pet owners in field of veterinarian. These pet owners are more concerned with their pets for any affections, pathological conditions of this eye and ear. So today we have taken this topic where we will discuss most of the affections, most of the pathological conditions of eye and ear. We start with, we will start with affections of eye. We will start with affections of eye, and later on we will deal with affections of ear. So first of all, a basic introduction about the eye. You know that eye has three basic layers. Outer one is the sclera, middle one is the choroid, and the innermost is the sensory layer, that is the retina. You also know that the eye is located in the orbit of skull. In skull there is a orbit, a space where these eyeballs are located. Other structure of this eye, you know, there is a external covering of conjunctiva. Behind this is layer of cornea. There is also ciliary bodies. There is iris. You know, the whole eyeball, particularly the posterior chamber, is filled with vitreous humor, and the anterior chamber in front of the lens and behind the iris, that is the anterior chamber, it is filled with aqueous humor, and the posterior chamber is filled with vitreous humor. You know most of the structure regarding this eye. You also know that in the eyelids there are some uh, glands like tarsal gland, and you also know that there is a lacrimal gland. So these are some basic information about the eye. So you know eyeball is located in orbit. It is also, the eye is protected by eyelids. These eyelids have conjunctiva which covers the cornea. You also know that the eyelids have eyelashes, and just behind the eyelashes there are sebaceous glands which are called meibomian glands. These glands secrete lubricants which prevent adhesion of the eyelids with the conjunctiva and cornea. Similarly, there is a lens. We know that this lens is neither vascular, neither they have any stromal tissue. It is entirely made of epithelium. And you should also know that cornea is also vascular tissue, avascular tissue. These tissues are not bathed by blood. They don't have blood vessels. And as I was telling that there is presence of humor, aqueous humor and vitreous humor in the posterior and the anterior chamber respectively. Apart from this, you must know that the conjunctival mucosa is usually free from bacteria because the tear secreted from the glands of eye has bacteriostatic property, particularly this lysozyme. This lysozyme has the property to kill the bacteria. So it prevents from any sort of infection. Now, one by one, we will deal with different affections of eye parts. So we will start with some congenital anomalies. These changes which you see before birth. First of all is anophthalmia congenitus. As the name indicates, anophthalmia congenitus. That is before birth, and an means no, ophthalmia means eye. So these fetus may have one or both eye absent from birth. Second is microphthalmia. Micro means a small, so their eyes are very small, and they are termed as microphthalmia. Third is cyclops. You know, when there is fusion of both eye and only one eye can be visible, this condition is called as cyclops. Next is ankyloblepharon. Ankyloblepharon means the eyelids are fused. Both the upper and lower eyelids are fused together. Next is strabismus. In humans, you call this condition as squint. As it is called as squint, and you know what is this. Next is entropion. Entropion is turning in of the eyelids, not the eyelashes. Naturally, eyelash will also turn, but if eyelids turn inwards, it is called as entropion. And contrast to it is ectropion, where it is turning out of the eyelids. And a special type of condition is called columba. You see coloboma. You see in this coloboma, there is some defect. There is some hole-like area in the eye. You can see a hole-like area in the eye. This is called as coloboma. Next is dermoids. Dermoids are some growths. These growths cover these cornea, partially or completely they cover the cornea. Next is synchia. Synchia, congenital synchia. So what is synchia? It is adhesion between the iris and the cornea. The iris get adhered with the cornea. Next is microphakia. Phakia is lens and micro is small. So the lens becomes very small. Next is luxation of the lens. That is dislocation of the lens. Cataract can also be congenital and it can also be acquired. So congenital cataract do occur where the lens become opaque. And last is this congenital aplasia of retina and optical nerves. So it is usually met in calves and they are born blind because there is no formation of sensory layer of retina and optic nerve is also not proper function. Here you can see this is a condition of cyclops, a single eye in the forehead. So cyclops is a condition where both eye fuses and forms one. You can see a single eye. Similarly, you can see dermoid. This dermoid covers half, partially or complete the eye. You can see it is covered, half covered. These dermoids have covered the eye. Next is entropion. Entropion is inward turning of the eyelids. So it usually occurs in the upper eyelid. And it is ectropion. And it usually occurs in the lower eyelid where it is outward turned. The lower eyelids are outward turned. This is called as ectropion. So we will deal with pathology of the eyelids first. What is trichiasis? Trichiasis is the turning in of the eyelashes, not eyelids. If eyelashes are only turned, it is called as trichiasis. Next is blepharitis, inflammatory condition of the eyelids. Eyelids are also called as blepharon, therefore it is called as blepharitis. Next is hordeum or style. What is this? This is the inflammation or abscess formation in the hair follicles of the eyelashes. In the hair follicles of the eyelashes, when abscess is formed, it is called as hordeolum or style. And chalazion is abscess formation of the meibomian glands. Okay, where these glands are located? This gland is located just beneath the eyelashes. Just beneath the eyelashes. You can see in the eyelids, there is a formation of abscess. This diagram is of chalazion. You can see this is an example of, this is a photograph of hordeum or style. This is condition of blepharitis and this is trichiasis. The eyelashes are turned inside. Next is the orbit affections. In this diagram you can see the eyeball are bulging eyeball. This is called as exophthalmos, means protrusion of the eyeball. The eyeball is bulging. And in contrast to upper photograph, you can see the eyelids, the eyeball has shrinked. So sinking of the eyeball is called as anophthalmos. And you know cellulitis, it is inflammation of the orbit tissue. This is called as orbital cellulitis. Regarding lacrimal gland, important term is dacryoadenitis. It is the technical term for lacrimal glands. So inflammation of the lacrimal gland is called as dacryoadenitis. Other condition can be occlusion of the lacrimal gland. The duct of the lacrimal gland may be obstructed. Regarding conjunctiva, most important term is conjunctivitis, a very known term to you. So inflammation of conjunctiva is conjunctivitis. So what you can see in conjunctivitis, there is redness of the conjunctiva and increased production of tears due to irritation. A special type of conjunctivitis is Cropus or diphtheritic conjunctivitis. It can be seen in birds, it can be seen in cattle, and usually it is caused by Necrophorus bacteria. Pathology of the cornea. Some pathological condition of the cornea. One important is pannus. What is pannus? Granulation, vascular granulation tissue is found between the corneal epithelium and Bowman's membrane. If you remember, the corneum has two basic membranes. One is the corneal epithelium that is towards the conjunctiva, and other is the basement membrane towards the iris. Just beneath the corneal epithelium is found the Bowman's membrane, and beneath the Bowman's membrane is stroma, and below to the stroma is the basement membrane. So between corneal epithelium and Bowman's membrane, there is formation of granulation tissue. This diagram is showing pannus formation. Next is keratitis. This is inflammation of the cornea. Simple and known term to you. Ulceration can also take place in cornea. But here you can see there is also a term, staphyloma. Staphyloma, what is this? This is the prolapse of the iris through the rupture. The rupture by which iris prolapse is called as staphyloma. And one important condition in cattle caused by Moraxella bovis is called pink eye. It is also called as technically infectious keratoconjunctivitis in cattle. This is important from objective point of view. Infectious keratoconjunctivitis, that is pink eye, is caused by Moraxella bovis. And regarding lens, so you know there can be luxation of the lens. These lenses are anchored by help of suspensory ligaments to the ciliary body. If there is some change in the ligaments, this lens may be dislocated. And other important is the cataract. Cataract is opacity of the lens. Anyhow, when the lens become opaque, this condition is called as cataract. And the cataract can be classified on various bases. Here you can see on formation, it may be congenital or it may be acquired. Congenital is due to failure of the hyaloid artery to regress. When this artery do not regress even after birth, it will lead to the formation of congenital cataract. Acquired cataract may be due to some trauma, due to diabetes, deficiency of vitamin D, vitamin C. These conditions may cause acquired cataract. This can be partial or complete. This can be incomplete or complete. The opacity may be complete or incomplete, and depending on the nature of lesion, this is of 4 types. In human, it is of 6 types. In animals, it is of 4 types basically: subcapsular, cortical, lamellar, and nuclear cataract. When there is change in the lens epithelium, it is called as subcapsular. When there is change in the lens fiber, it is called as cortical cataract. And this lamellar cataract is due to some injury, and nuclear cataract is due to old age. It usually occurs in old age. Pathology of the uveal tract. What is this uveal tract? This uveal tract is found just anterior of the iris, behind the cornea. You can see at the junction of choroid and the iris, just near to the cornea attachment, you can see this uveal tract. So what can be there? Their condition is called as synetia. Synetia. What is the synetia? Synetia is basically the adhesion of the iris. When it is anterior, it adhere with the cornea. When it is posterior, it adhere with the lens capsule. So synetia is the adhesion of the iris, maybe anterior or posterior type. When both iris and ciliary body is inflamed, the condition is called as iridocyclitis. In horses, this is better known as periodic ophthalmia. In horse, this is termed as periodic ophthalmia. Regarding iris, you must have known to these terms mydriasis and myiasis. What is mydriasis? This is dilatation of the pupil. This is the dilatation of the pupil. It can be physiological or pathological. It can be also bring about by some drugs like atropine, hyoscyamine, cocaine, adrenaline. Like drugs can also cause dilatation of the pupil. And similarly, there is myiasis, which is just opposite to mydriasis. It is constriction of the pupil. Constriction of the pupil. And it can be caused by some certain drugs like pilocarpine, and ergot. Next is retina. No more important term is related to retina, except that there can be atrophy in the retina, and the retina may detach from its attachment with the choroid. And regarding optic nerves, there can be atrophy of the optic nerves, and as you know, it can be congenital or it can be acquired. When these optic nerves get atrophied, what will happen? The optic papilla became thinned with disturbance of the interstitial capillaries, and total blindness results ultimately. When there will be atrophy of the optic nerves, the patient will become totally blind. Glaucoma, one more important term and much known to you. So when there is increase in the intraocular pressure, is vitreous humor, when increase in volume, there is increase in the intraocular pressure. This causes the condition that is called as glaucoma. It may be due to some primary cause, or it may be due to some secondary cause. So if there is glaucoma, the eyeball will be enlarged, protruded, cornea may become opaque, and you know there will be increase in the humors of the eyeball, and it may be unilateral or bilateral. So as I was telling, this intraocular pressure may be due to excessive secretion of aqueous humor. Either it will be secreted in excess, and if secreted in normal, there may be some hindrance in its drainage. There may be some obstruction in the drainage. So accordingly, it can be primary glaucoma and secondary glaucoma. When the cause of obstruction is not known, then it is called as primary glaucoma. When you know and you can determine the cause of obstruction, it is called as secondary glaucoma. And regarding eyeball, ophthalmitis is the inflammation of the eyeball. You know the study of eye is called as ophthalmology. From there, this term is taken, ophthalmitis. Other term is xerophthalmia. Xerop means dryness. The dryness of the cornea, conjunctiva, eyeball is called as xerophthalmia, and it is usually due to deficiency of vitamin A. And you know, neoplasm can occur at any site, any part of the body. Similarly, in the eye, there is also some neoplastic conditions which may be primary or may be developed due to some metastasis from different organ. So primary neoplasm may be of squamous cell carcinoma, maybe adenoma, maybe adenocarcinoma, and secondary metastasis can develop from certain carcinomas, sarcomas, melanomas, lymphosarcomas, like tumors growing other some distant organ and reaching to eye through either through blood vessels or through limb vessels. So these were the changes that we see in the different pathological changes that you can see in the eye. Even after death, you can see some change in the eyeball, some change in the eye. What is this? After death, the eye usually becomes dry. The eye becomes dry. There is dilatation of the pupil and the detachment of retina from its choroid layer. So EM change, we should also remember three important change after death: dryness, dilatation of the pupil, and detachment of the retina with time in the dead body. So this was all about the pathological conditions of eye, and now we should deal with ear. And there is not no much pathological conditions in ear related to veterinary science. It is a short topic, so it will hardly take 5 minutes. So now we will start affections of ear. So first of all, a general discussion about the ear. You know that ear has ear for study convenience. It is divided into three parts: external ear, eardrum. Onwards to the eardrum is the external ear. It consists of the auricle or pinna. Pinna basically called in veterinary science auricles in human. It consists of auditory canal, auditory meatus, and this tympanic membrane or eardrum. These three parts basically comes under external ear, and in the middle ear, these three small bones: MIS, malleus, incus, stapes, and this tube which connect the middle ear with the pharynx, which is called a eustachian tube. So these are parts of the middle ear behind the eardrum and forward to the this oval window. Malleus attached with incus and incus finally attached with stapes at the oval window. This is the internal part, inner ear, internal ear. You know this has two basic function and two basic part. One is related with hearing, and other is related with balance, posture of the body. So these three semicircular canals usually help in maintaining the body posture. These cochlea, this cochlear part help in the hearing. They have a bony labyrinth, they have membranous labyrinth, they have perilymph, they have endolymph. So the vibrations are then carried by the cochlear nerve to the brain for hearing purpose. So regarding affections, first of all, external ear. You know the external ear consists of the pinna, concha, external auditory meatus, and glands, ceruminous gland, which secrete cerumins. You know. The first affection is otitis externa. Inflammation of the external ear, any part of the external ear is called as otitis externa. Microscopically, microscopically, uh, there will be there will be swelling and congestion. There will be excess production of wax cerumen, and there may be granulomatous lesion. And in microscopic feature, you can see the changes of granuloma, particularly caused by actinomycosis in veterinary field. Next, an important term is auricular hematoma. This is the most important pathological change in ear related to veterinary science. What is this? Auricular or oral hematoma is an accumulation of blood within the cartilage of the pinna or auricles. The blood is accumulated in the pinna, cartilage of the pinna, and it appears swollen, and it is a painful condition. So it occurs due to some inflammatory condition or some external uh, objects like foreign bodies, food allergy, bacterial infections, yeast infections, or mites, or some violent scratching of the eye. So it is basically hematoma, where where the blood accumulate in the within the cartilage of the auricles or pinna of the ear. So you can see this. This is the ear, and this is the swollen ear due to accumulation of blood in the within the cartilage of the ear. Here you can also see. So this is most common finding in veterinary science. Second is middle ear. You know the inflammation of middle ear is called as otitis media, and this part consists of the ossicles and the eustachian tube. These ossicles are the MIS, these middle ear bones, ossicles. In horse, other than these three, there is presence of guttural pouches. So the only change that you can see is the otitis media, that is inflammation of the middle ear. It may be purulent type, causing pus. And last is the internal ear, that is the labyrinth of the ear. Inner ear, internally also called as labyrinth of the ear. So you know it has vestibules, these semicircular canals, this cochlea. They have bony labyrinth, membranous labyrinth, three semicircular ducts, two sac-like structure that is called a saccule and utricle, basically responsive for maintaining the posture, cochlear duct, responsible for hearing, and the inflammation of the internal ear is basically called as otitis interna. So this was all about affections of the eye and ear. If you have any question, we can deal with. Uh, we have we have some time.